YouTube, what is good? It's your man Ribs from Ribs Doing Film Things. Every single week I make videos about film photography, so if that's your thing, make sure to subscribe. I love the genre of portraiture. It is my absolute favorite. It's great to interact with my subject, pose them, direct lighting, figure out the environment, all of the above. It's just such a good time. So there's 3 essential things that I do for every single portrait. I make sure to always keep these in mind when working with a subject during a portrait shoot, and it never fails me to ensure that I get a nice diverse set of images and just kind of have fun and experiment a bit as well. All right, so the first thing I want to talk about is what I call the 3 distances. That basically means there are 3 different distances from the subject that I like to stand when taking the photos. To start out, we have the beauty distance, which is very close to the model, focusing on his or her face. This allows you to showcase some of the finer things about the model, especially if they're very good looking. In addition, you can showcase the hair, any piercings, perhaps any face tattoos. That kind of stuff is very, very interesting and is very intimate as well. The second distance focuses on the torso. This means basically from about the belly button up to the top of the head. This allows you to include a bit more posing into your image. It also starts to give off a bit more feeling and emotion as you start to see the arms and the shoulders of the model. We'll touch on this later, but this position also starts to let you see more posing. It allows the model to start moving around and incorporate other elements of the body as well. And lastly, the third one has to do with the environment. In this particular option, you want to step back away from the model or zoom your lens out and start to showcase a bit more of the environment that you're located in. If you're outdoors, this is amazing because it allows you to showcase wherever you are. It could be a park, it could be a beach, you name it. These things matter and they help give off an additional vibe to your image that has nothing to do with the model. If you're in the studio, you can still do this. You zoom out, you can start to reveal some of the studio backdrop, such as the actual backdrop itself, the lighting, the building. Perhaps you're in an old warehouse, which is what most studios tend to be. That stuff looks very cool on photo, so you want to make sure to show that off in some way. All right, so the second thing I pay attention to is posing. Obviously, posing matters a lot, and I find that it's very important for photographers to know and have ideas about how to pose a subject. Of course, models need to bring it as well, but you as a photographer have a lot of influence as to how a model will give off feelings with the way they pose their body and other elements. I find it's important to pay special attention to the shoulders. The shoulders are very important because they will dictate how the rest of the body moves. I encourage you to talk to your model and try different positions of the shoulders, perhaps straight square on, or maybe one shoulder forward, one shoulder back. Maybe turn the full body all the way back and have the model turn her face forward. All kinds of different things you can do when it comes to the shoulder positioning. The hands and arms are also very important when it comes to posing. I find very simple things like making sure that the model is touching his or her own arm or his or her own body, maybe his or her own face. Those things make a lot of difference and they're very easy to cycle through. The options are endless because you can touch the nose, the chin, the lip, the ears, you name it, especially the hair as well. You can play with that. And then of course you have the shoulder, the arm, anything. Honestly, just work the hands in there and encourage the model to move the hands around and use them as part of the posing as well. One of my favorite things to do is to get the arms extended out. That way they become a bit out of focus in the photo. It just adds a bit of intrigue, especially when you're shooting wide and when you're shooting on medium format. One last thing to mention about posing is using the environment. As I mentioned earlier, the environment is very important. Therefore, I encourage you to have the model interact with the environment as well. All of that is very useful and it helps add diversity to the amount of poses you can have. All right, so the third thing you want to think about when shooting portraits is the actual lighting. I feel like most people default to very soft lighting because it looks very nice. I have nothing against soft lighting, it's just I get bored of it sometimes. I actually prefer to shoot in harsh sunlight. Believe it or not, harsh sunlight is very interesting and gives you a lot of interesting options to work with. The first option is having the sunlight be positioned Rembrandt style. So in this case, you want your model to have the chin up just a bit, and that way you can start to see some of the little triangle that you see here, classic of Rembrandt, and then one side of the face will be a bit more illuminated. The other option you have when it comes to harsh sunlight is actually rim lighting. So this is almost like backlighting, but in this case, you actually get a nice highlight coming across the side of the model's face. This stuff looks very, very cool and allows you to just add a bit more dimension and contrast into the scene. You can still benefit from the soft face lighting by being in shadow, but then you also have this nice punch of light coming on the side. And then lastly, with harsh light, you do get lots of shadows and interesting shapes. So if you're in an area that has a lot of cool shadows shining on somewhere, use that to your advantage. It'll strike up some really cool shapes and figures on the model's eye. Sometimes it's not a very defined shape. It might just be more of like a light blob, but that could also look pretty cool. Just give it a go and make sure to rotate around your subject to see what different kinds of harsh lights you can get on them. All right, there you have it. That was a quick run through as to how I walk through portraiture. I always make sure to have these 3 things in my back pocket to ensure that I'm getting through the most type of images that I could possibly take and make sure I have a nice, diverse, interesting set of images. All right, y'all, if you like this video, please go ahead and give me a like. If you want to see more videos like this, definitely go ahead and subscribe, as I post every single week. Until the next one, y'all, peace.